Alright, episodes 28 and 29 of Kamen Rider Zeztz. So, yeah. So, guys, if you're watching these when they originally came out, I do apologize for getting this one out a few days late. But I have been sick again. Yeah. House sitting for my brother, and, more so dog sitting. And, drank out of one of the jars that they use for cups over there. And it had some lingering sickness on it from when their kids were sick, my brother and his wife's. So yeah, not great. I've just been coughing like fuck, and then my throat was also very dry the day before I'm recording this, to the point where I was just coughing a lot. Um, and today it's just been like stuffy nose and whatever, so my voice probably sounds a little weird, so I apologize for that. But there's nothing else I could do. But yeah, so I wanted to record this and get it out as quick as possible, and also there's another uh, podcast episode that's gonna come out probably on the weekend that this is, or the weekend after this is coming out. So yeah, on the Agent Minami shorts, and you'll see why that has to, or why I have to cover those as we go through this podcast episode. So yeah. So episode 28 has to do with it picks up from the last episode where everybody is in this Mad Max style world in the dreams and everything, and Baku switches into his Physicam Impact form from the enhanced plasma form, and thanks to it being buffed up a bit, he easily takes on all of the random guys that are all there fighting him, and even pushes back one of their jeeps. So yeah, so that happens for a little bit. Unfortunately, Zeztz starts interfering again at a point, and he basically uses his swords to bash the Zeztz driver until Baku wakes up in the real world and everything. So, yeah. So then we see Zeztz following and chasing after Nem and everything, as he wants to ask her some questions, as he says, because he knows that she's the girl that was born from nightmares and everything. And he says something about being born from sin, which is not great. And yeah, so we then delve in a bit into Zeke's backstory, where he was recruited by, actually no, yeah, actually this goes into this episode still. So yeah, so Zeke's backstory, we see that he was recruited by Code as Agent 1, and or Code number 1, and he was one of the first two that they recruited to help learn about or experiment with their dream learning technology and everything. So yeah, and he's also connected to the lady who, as we established in a previous episode, was Code number 2, and she initially wanted him out of the program, but Zero was having none of it, which is, not great, as you can tell. But yeah, and along the way, we see that Zeztz, as Nox explains when Baku asks, he, instead of fighting the nightmares, instead chose to absorb their power and use it for himself, which is part of the reason why he's so powerful and also so much more crazy. Because he was already a bit crazy because he was a criminal that basically Code I don't know, either kidnapped or maybe got sent from the government or the prison or whatever, and were using as a guinea pig for their stuff. Um, but yeah, so he just basically chose to do that stuff. We don't necessarily know what's happening or what happened with Code Somnia yet, but I imagine he's either in a coma or maybe he died in his sleep and thus he's trapped in the dream world. So, yeah. Um, so we have that stuff. In the real world, before we get all that explained, Fujimi and Nazca ask Baku about the destroyed theater. That's obviously where, or in their city, and Baku's actually surprised about that, I believe. So yeah, and that gets them a black case and everything. Uh, they then want to go wake up Otaka because they now know his location from Baku's explanation of what happened in his premonition dream. But he says that Otaka is still in his coma due to the nightmare and everything. So yeah, so then we see 0 and 3 talking at Code HQ, and they have a conversation about what to do with Zeztz, and 3 has a thing where he has a plan in case, so he goes to talk to 5, and he says that, or he says to 5, would you like whatever, I think power or whatever, and the power to make your dreams come true, I think is what he says. And 5's like, yes, I would. But then 3 obviously just doesn't know what to say, and he just he I think he mumbles for a bit or for a second, then says, or then 5 asks him what, and then he says Code Somnia, and yeah, but to gain that power, you have to give up your humanity, which is another reminder of that. So, yeah. So then we see Baku and Minami, where they have another little. They have dinner together in Baku's. In his trying to think, his headquarters basically, and they talk about how or Minami basically tells them about how like everything's dangerous and everything. I believe it's weird. I just rewatched these episodes and I can't remember some of these details, but this is also another nice moment where we slow down and we get more little moments with Baku and Minami, which is nice. So, Baku, or no, we see Nem and Nox still running from Zeke, but also a new nightmare that he has conjured to help him with them. So yeah, Nox uses the recovery capsule that Baku gave him to restore part of his sword gun weapon, and puts the capsule in it, and then uses it to fight off the nightmare and also try and save Nem, because the lady tasks him to do it. And oh yeah, I think we see also. I think this might have been the last episode, but we also see how the lady is able to see into the dreams, and that is that the like butterflies that fly out of Nem allow her to see what's going on and everything and catch her up. So, yeah. So Nox gets Nem through a wall by bashing a hole through it, and then fixes it while he distracts the nightmare. But before the nightmare can kill him, he disappears, as does Nem. And yeah, so he wonders where they are, and it turns out Baku has brought them to his headquarters room. So yeah, and to keep them safe for the meantime. And so he asks Nox who Zeztz is. Nox explains the stuff I just said earlier, and then he gives Baku back the recovery capsule, and when Baku wants to go back to where Zeztz is, Otaka, or Nox, well, actually, no, it doesn't really matter, but Nox tells him that eventually everyone falls to or loses their humanity to the nightmares, and he says, "You're no exception." And Baku says, "Well, I'll just have to defeat them before that happens," and goes back to the main place where the nightmare is. So yeah. So he then uses the Catastrom capsule to transform into that form, and starts fighting the nightmare. And the cool thing I like about this is how Baku defeats the nightmare. He fights it for a bit, then he gets out his cannon weapon, loads it up with 3 of his capsules, one being the gravity, and the others being ones that help out. I can't remember which ones. And basically, okay, looking at the wiki page, booster, impact. All right, no, impact, gravity, and wonder. So he uses those 3 in tandem with each other, and to break the moon again, he fires it at the nightmare, and then it not only does that, but it goes up towards the moon and sucks the nightmare up into it, and basically destroys the nightmare, and I believe also partly destroys the moon. So, yeah, or entirely destroys the moon. So, yeah. So then, Nem says you should be waking up now, and Nox comments on how Baku kept his word and everything. So yeah, but unfortunately, they still have a problem with Zeztz, who comes in and starts fighting Baku again. And, but unfortunately, Baku's energy is drained from the capsule, or from using the capsule. And so what Zeztz does is he instead kidnaps Nox and puts him in one of the cages that he has in his little lair. So, yeah. So, that's a cliffhanger. So, then the next episode picks up where that one left off. And Zeztz instead, actually, right, it picks up with, actually it picks up elsewhere. We have Baku promising to enter the dream and stop Zeztz and everything. And, but it's not Baku's dream anymore. Whose is it? Minami's. And she's in a dream where she is an agent, or she is the secret agent instead, while Baku is her, as she says later on in the episode, unemployed little brother, or not older brother, and everything. And as he says, kind of useless because he doesn't have any of his agent tech and everything. So yeah, and she obviously doesn't know. He starts questioning what's going on and why she's in the agent uniform, and she says, well, it's because I'm an agent, of course. So yeah. So then Nem comes in and is in the role of their mother for some reason. So, yeah. And it should be said, during this entire episode in the dream, or in the dream world, Baku, he still has that, like, cowlick on the side of his head, or his hair, but he's just otherwise looking normal like he does in the real world. It's very interesting. No, like, changed eye color, no, like, brown hair instead of his black hair and everything, although I will comment on that later on in the episode if I remember. So, yeah. And what is Minami's uh what is the word? Case? Save the cat. So, yeah. This is why I said next time I'll be doing the Asian Minami shorts, because those have been broadcast on the Toei Tokusatsu World, like, fan club in Japan. I believe that is a streaming service that Toei has set up that people can subscribe to, and it has, like, extra content that is not seen. I don't know if it's not seen on any of the home releases, or if it's just exclusive to that, or if it's just for the initial releases and then gets later added to the home releases as, like, bonus features. But we do not have these over here. These hard, like, from what I can tell, they hard, like, foreshadowed this particular episode. I was maybe gonna, like, cover them later on because I didn't know if they were gonna be relevant or not. Turns out they were gonna be relevant, which is why I'm really confused as to why Toei hasn't licensed them out to international, like, licensors that they licensed Zeztz to. It's really odd. I don't understand it at all. You know what I mean? So having to look up fan subs for that. Thankfully, like, people have, like, screen recorded or downloaded the episodes and fan subbed them, which is good, but, like, I don't understand why these weren't, like, made available in the first place officially. I don't know. Hopefully when Shout Factory releases Zeztz on Blu-ray, maybe later this year or next year, they'll include those as, like, bonus features on the discs. That would be nice. But yeah, and the nightmare that shows up here is also the one that was in those, or at least one of the ones that was in those. So that's also a reason why I have to go over them. But yeah, so we get that. So then we see Nox in the cage in Zeke's little hideout, and Zeke has him start to battle a nightmare, and he initially fends it off with his weapon, but the nightmare's about to kill him when what happens? But the lady gives him his Nox driver that we saw in the premonition dream, but he didn't have it up until now. So yeah, and also we saw towards the end of the last episode the lady having the capsule for it, the wolf capsule for it, charged with one of the nightmare butterfly things. So yeah. So she puts it on him, then she drops the capsule in it, and he transforms into Kamen Rider Nox again in his wolf form. So yeah, then he defeats the nightmare, and he throws Zeke's words back at him because Zeke said to him, "I thought you'd put up more of a fight." Then he says, "I thought you'd put up more of a fight." And yeah, so then he's able, I believe, to escape that hideout and goes to do some investigating. So yeah, so then we see Minami and Baku starting to investigate where a cat has gone. So yeah, and because of this, Baku is just kind of confused, and he just completely forgets to do any investigating elsewhere. So yeah. So then, we We see them investigate a playground where the cat is, or where the cat is apparently, and the nightmare sneaks up on Minami, and yeah. So when Baku goes to catch up with, or maybe not even necessarily catch up, but like looks over the park towards where Minami was, he for some reason thinks that what he's seeing behind I believe it's behind a slide, is the cat. I would have thought he would have thought it was Minami, but whatever. Um, but it's the nightmare, and it catches him off guard and bats him away, and he wakes up. So yeah, so then he discusses it with Fujimi, Nasuka, and Minami the next day. He thinks that the dreamer is the little girl in the dream, or maybe not little girl, like teenage girl, I think, um, in the dream. But and I don't understand why he doesn't think this at all in the episode. He uh, doesn't realize it's Minami, even when she starts making some cat-related puns in her speech. And then she grows a tail that was the same tail as the nightmares. I don't I don't know. Doesn't really make much sense as to why like Baku doesn't. Well, actually, no. I think he probably does, but it's just like I don't know. He wants to immediately try to go back to sleep because for some reason he thinks that he can continue his investigation in the dream world, even though the only two other people in that dream that he could connect to would be awake. That's what even Fujimi says. That like no, the dreamer isn't in danger as long as they're awake, right? But yeah, so Baku lays in his bed and spends the rest of the day trying to go back to sleep, even like counting sheep and everything. But it doesn't work because he can't connect to the dreamer's dream world right now. So yeah. Um so along the way, we see Knox investigating and he gets to a house where he sees three doors, and he looks through the keyhole for the door, and he sees something that he doesn't, or that like sets him off and clues him into what's going on. So yeah, so then we see eventually Baku get back to sleep after Minami gets back to sleep and goes to continue her investigation into where the cat is. So yeah, so after Baku gets there, a few minutes after she does, and even after she has a thing with Nem, where Nem tries to remind her of Baku's age and stuff, but apparently Minami doesn't remember in the dream. It's weird. Um, Although it is consistent with the actual real world dream logic. Um, so I don't fault the writer at all. But anyways, so uh, Baku goes to where Minami is because he tells Nem it's in danger, or she's in danger, and then Nem joins along because, well, in the dream she's casting the role of their mom. So yeah. Um. So they go to the park where they previously were and call for Minami, which has walked down towards the river that's nearby, and for some reason thinks that the cat may have gone down there. But then when she looks at her reflection in the water, she sees the nightmare looking back at her, and she's understandably freaked out. So yeah, so then Zeke comes up to her and says, "Let's have a real bad dream," or something like that. And yeah, so then Baku and Nem catch up. They see the nightmare, and Baku gets out his Zeztz driver, and Catastrom caps him and transforms and starts fighting it. Zeke's nearby and cheers on Baku to fight and kill the nightmare. So then after a bit after the fighting starts, Baku is about to use the Catastrophe Breaker, I believe, and kill the Nightmare. But then Nox comes in and makes him misfire. And he's like, why'd you do that? So Zeke transforms into Kamen Rider Dawn and starts fighting Nox. And the Nightmare starts fighting Baku again. So yeah. But Nox gets the upper hand for a second and stops fighting and says, the Nightmare is Minami. And yeah. So Baku's obviously like, what? And like hesitating and everything. So yeah. So the Nightmare then transforms back into Minami, and yeah, she falls down, and Baku gets detransformed back to normal because obviously Catastrom's powers run out and everything. As well as the stuff from several episodes prior where he stopped with his mission to do what he was doing. And yeah, so he takes, he runs up to Minami and takes her in his arms, and starts like being like freaked out, obviously, about it and everything. And like, sounds like he's supposed to be crying, but I don't know if it's just the takes that they used maybe or not. But like, there's no like tears coming down his eyes, and he doesn't sound like too choked up. He more sounds like he's freaking out, which, you know, makes sense, and I'm not gonna fault him for it. So yeah, so then Zeke transforms back to normal, as does Nox, and Zeke says to Baku, "How's it feel killing your own family?" And Baku obviously gets more and more freaked out, but then Nox says, "Don't let what he says torment you, because Minami isn't your real family." And that she's an agent sent by code to watch over him. And yeah, so big bombshell revealed right there. Uh, so yeah, so we end there to see what happens in the next episode. And I'm not gonna lie, like this episode, I felt like the previous episode had a bit better of pacing to it. This episode, it begins in a weird place, while also continuing the plot from the last episode, or where the last episode left off. Um, it is a bit off in terms of the pacing, I feel like I just said, because it goes slow, then it kind of heats up a little bit, then it goes slow again, then it heats up even more. And I feel like the earlier episodes could get away with that because like we do have these like different kinds of things, and we're still getting used to the characters, and we're still getting like some additions to everything. But in regards to this, it's just kind of a pace breaker, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, and I watched Dawson Ryder's review of this episode, and he said that he was very much hoping that this would be a Nox focused episode, and the majority of it would take place around Nox's point of view and everything, which I think it could have also had more scenes with Nox in it, because there's a scene where, like I said, Nox is looking through the keyhole and seeing it. Oh yeah, and that's how Zeke. I forgot to mention this. So Zeke alters Minami's dream from a normal bad dream where I guess she or Baku dies to Baku in his catastrophe form killing her. That's how he was able to do that, and he's able to do it thanks to his nightmare powers. And there's also, right, I forgot to say, Nox wakes up after he's done fighting the Nightmare and Zeke, and has a brief conversation with the lady and everything. And she reminds him or tells him to protect Nem and everything. And he assures her that he'll take down, or he's focused mainly on getting revenge on Code, and he'll take down Zeke. So, yeah. And basically that she has, like, nothing to worry about in regards to that. Um, to which, before that, she had also said, if anything happens to her, you know what'll happen to you. Basically just threatening him. Um, so, yeah. Um, and then they move from where he was in his self-induced coma before Fujimi and Nasuka can get there and find him. Obviously, I forgot to mention that part as well. So, yeah, and where was I going with this? Um, Basically, I think that we could have had more scenes, maybe focused on like Knox's investigation into all this stuff, because he looks into the dream to see what's going on, and it doesn't really clue the audience into what's going on, even just a little bit. It doesn't show us anything that like gets us wondering what's going on. It just shows us something that like doesn't really connect, unfortunately. um it's just one of those things where I think that they could have maybe rewritten it or redid some stuff in post production or something like that, or do some reshoots to add on some like maybe some better or more important scenes, rather than have uh, a scene where Baku is endlessly trying to get back to sleep and everything, and does the like sheep counting and everything. I don't know. It seems like Baku just, because he's partially because he's worried about Minami, or mostly I think because of that, he's not thinking too logically or too straight, or as you maybe would expect him to in this one. Um, and it just feels a little off in regards to him. I think it also feels off a little bit to Minami as well, because in the real world, she's not too freaked out, it seems, when it comes to her somehow growing a tail and starting to have like cat related puns. Um, I don't know. Maybe it's the nightmare influencing her. I don't know. But the revelation that she's a code agent, um, I'm of two minds about this. For one, they didn't really foreshadow it at all. Like, I know the Agent Minami shorts, but within the show itself, which is all I've seen up until this point, they did not really do a great job of foreshadowing this reveal. To which, when you have stuff that's supposed to be revealed like this, um, in my opinion, you should have at least some amount of like stuff that is set up beforehand to where the audience then goes, huh? And then maybe on a rewatch of previous episodes, people will be like, oh, that's where they hinted at it, and I just didn't notice beforehand because I didn't know. It's stuff like that. It's kind of like and I know the author of these books isn't great, and I don't like her either. But like, when I read Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, for the first time, this was 7 years ago. Um, when I read that book for the first time, as we probably know by now, anyone who knows anything about Harry Potter, the big reveal is that Mad Eye Moody, for the majority of that book, is Barty Crouch Jr. in disguise under the effects of um the potion, the polyjuice potion. And however, before that, there really weren't any hints at it, and it kind of comes out of nowhere. The reason for that being, as far as I can tell, J.K. Rowling kind of just wrote the plot and then wrote that reveal, then realized before she did the final draft of it that she didn't add any hints beforehand, that was that made it, or that she didn't add any hints to make that make any sense. So she went back and kind of did some hints to maybe make you think about it, or think about what Moody is doing and everything, so that that reveal doesn't completely come out of nowhere. But even then, like, she only added like a few things within, I think, the first act of the book, and then nothing else until then. So really bad and weak reveal in my opinion. But when it comes to that kind of thing, you really should have at least something. Um, I don't know. It's just something that I think should have been built up a little bit better in the show itself, not with these shorts that are auxiliary media that are coming out at the same time as episodes of the show that only Japan is seeing. You know, it just, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Granted, not everything needs a lot of foreshadowing for a big reveal, but at least a little bit of foreshadowing would have been nice. Um, so yeah, because like there was no reason to think that this reveal would happen. On the other hand, I actually do like this. They do set up in this episode. Unfortunately, they don't really set it up previously either. That the although granted, Baku and Minami are living together in their apartment, but the thing about it is just like um, they didn't really talk about this beforehand. Baku says that Minami is his only family, pretty much saying that their parents are dead. Um, and and yeah, or just missing or something. So yeah, so the question then becomes: is Baku, were they orphaned at some point, or was Baku always an orphan, or something like that? I don't know. And in my opinion, this kind of makes more sense when you think about the fact that Minami, before they cast her actress in this show, she was originally supposed to be his older sister. So I think it would have been a little bit better if they stuck to that plan rather than having her be his younger sister after they cast the actress that they got. Because to me, it would make a little bit more sense if she was like looking out for him and taking care of him, being his older sister and everything. Um, I don't know, just something that uh, I'm thinking about now. So in regards to her being an agent, I'm assuming maybe she's a sleeper agent is the thing. Um, because of that, I imagine that that's the explanation they'll go with in one of the next few episodes, probably the very next episode to explain it. We will see. Um, it'll be interesting to see what comes of this because it seems like she does genuinely care about Baku. So, after years of growing up with him and seeing him as her brother, it just. I hope what they do is that they don't have a thing where she just betrays him and doesn't feel anything for him because that would just be really, really shit. I don't think that that would make the show bad, mind you. I think that that would just be really, really shit for them to do that. It would make more sense to me that she grew an emotional attachment to Baku and and genuinely sees him as her brother, whether or not they're blood related. You know, just my thought on that. So we will see what happens. So yeah, um, and very interesting how Knox knows about this. I guess it makes enough sense that he would know about it, being an ex-code agent and everything. But since we haven't really delved that much outside of some things here and there with Knox's backstory and how he ended up, or how he was involved in code before he left, and exactly what happened when he left, which I imagine they may be saving for future episodes, which is fine, but yeah. Um, it just it's just a little I don't know. But yeah, so good episode for 28. 29 is just a bit mixed. Like if I were to give 29 a number rating, it'd probably be a 7. Still good. It's just not as good as the previous ones. Mainly just the pacing issues. Um, and the reveal not being at all foreshadowed beforehand. But yeah. Yeah, really not much else to say, guys. So, yeah, I'm gonna do the Age of Minami shorts next because there's like several shorts, like 3 or 4 each that connect and make an entire like episode of it. So, yeah, so watch out for that. So yeah, so really not much else to say. Links to description on my shit. Subscribe if you want, and I'll see you guys in the next one.